Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
As always, guys, please do subscribe to both channels, EEARTS and Evolutionary Energy Arts. Honestly, sometimes I don't know what I'm going to put where. It depends on what comes out. We were just discussing this. As we see yesterday's highlight over there on Evolutionary, the Twitter files. Well, let's start with Elon over here. And look at this statement closely. The intelligence of this hive mind will improve significantly as signal noise, effective cross-linking of tweets, and speed of tweets all improve. So again, you might look and say, okay, well, obviously, they have their version of AI going, and it's all working out things, and Elon's gonna save the world. Of course, we don't believe Elon's saving the world. No, Elon is one of them. Elon is one of them. He is an important part of all of this, and he's that dorky, geeky guy that is easier maybe to relate to in some ways, or easier to like than many of the politicians, but make no mistake about it, he is advancing the dark agenda on the planet.
Oh gosh, he really is, and this has been all over the news, and our family members had texted this to us, and he's definitely not a savior, but they're going to continue to push him to be that. And he's going to create this hive mind, have everyone plugged into Neuralink. They're going to be even more thoughtful about how news and information goes out, because they really need people to go along with the narrative and be part of that hive mind, because boy, does that give them power.
Yeah, again, we have the obvious supervillain in all this, the guy with the bald head over there at, leading the few, put it up to a mirror. So, again, controlled opposition, or apparent controlled opposition, and just work. There was a video out called the TRUMP heal effect that I don't know if you could find anymore, probably not. And it was referencing when 45 first came into power, and it was showing how he was doing his thing in the WWE. I always want to call it WWF, but, again, it's all entertainment. Same thing with the politicians. They're all there just for entertainment purposes only. Entertainment of the real controllers, we should put, not humanity. Again, this is, again, you got your villains, you got your super villains, your arch villains, you got the good guys, you got the ones that look like good guys, and then, they're a villain the whole time. This is all a big show, but again, it is pushing an agenda, and that agenda is ultimately to utilize humanity to the greatest effect possible.
And let's not forget them getting out of any karmic consequences by putting it out there exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. And that's it. It's all out there. And again, can you perceive what they're laying down? Can you smell what the rock is cooking? Can you smell what Elon's cooking?
Yeah, are you picking up what they're putting down?
And here again, and we do have many family members that are very well entrenched in the crypto world, but I got to tell you, and I got to share with you, I think it's a black hole. It's a pit. It's never going to go anywhere long term, because there's only going to be one official digital currency for everyone. What's the alternatives going to be? They're not going to be digital. They're going to be trading. They're going to be, I have a box of this that you could use to protect yourself with. You have a lovely bunch of apples and bananas. How about a swap? We're hungry, and you got so much to protect. Okay. Gold and silver may be used in even, hand-to-hand exchanges, as well as all sorts of different valuable things. I don't see it being technical. I truly do not see there being some sort of digital alternative currency allowed. Why would they? There's going to be one official. So you can risk things and try to make quick and easy profits until they pull the plug, but they will pull the plug. And if we look at this, Analysts and investors are struggling to call a bottom in the crypto stocks in the wake of a brutal month that ended with the head of BlackRock Inc. And you might as well take that as coming from Klaus or anybody else when you're talking, Larry Flint and the people at this level. Okay, so you have the head of BlackRock saying most digital asset firms won't survive. Really, he should have just said none of them will survive besides whatever we are going to utilize. So, crypto, in my humble opinion, I'm not an expert, but yet I think that Cindy and I have a good sense of how these beings operate. It's a trap. Now, there are people that will do well in that market or have done well in that market, as might not be much more time before this is all bye-bye, because 2023 is really all about moving forward, especially in that people may not buy or sell unless they're part of the system or they're building their alternative means. That's not going to be, it's not going to be technical. I don't see it being technical. How could it be technical? Can you, top what all the governments of the world have as far as technical ability with the, computers, with all the electronics? They are, and then when you really realize who is behind this, they're way more advanced. I mean, we had somebody say again that these beings have enslaved worlds, and and actually they have destroyed worlds as well. But again, this is in of a certain density, and we can go to a higher level than they can go. So again, all these physical constructs are just all temporary. And, crypto as it is, that is not the official digital CBDC that's going to be out there. It's temporary too.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a good idea for some people to hop in and make enough so that maybe they can buy some land and hop out, but have something tangible if you are involved with it. That's what I would want to do.
Well, I think it might be past that time. I mean, I don't know. I mean, because I do think that and again, Cindy and I, Cindy has never delved into this at all, and I've only just, I haven't ever I haven't ever traded anything like that, and wouldn't, just because I just don't want to be involved with it, and because I know what ultimately is going to happen is they're going to pull the plug, and they're telling you they're pulling the plug. This is telling you, and this is again that notification. When we look at this and we look at Elon saying the intelligence of this hive mind will improve significantly, and we look at Larry Flint and BlackRock saying most digital asset firms aren't going to survive. You could just take that to the bank. You could take that to the bank, and again, so for me, I maybe there was a time when we could have delved into it. Certainly, I got to share with you more crypto firms have offered us advertising, and we've turned down. We could have made thousands and thousands of dollars pushing anything. We only found one little company that we ever got behind, and that was for health supplements. As we don't believe it, we really think it's all part of the control system when you get down to it. And certain people are willing to use the system to a higher level, or willing to, so to speak, get in the pool a little bit and then just wait for that time to jump out before the electricity is turned on in that water. I think we're at the point now where you don't, I mean, that's just me. I don't think it's dip and toe in time at all, because I do think 2023 is going to be all about shifting, especially economically. The world's going to keep shifting geopolitically, but the economic shift is going to be very, very apparent in 2023.
Mm-hmm. Can you take it back to that Elon Musk? I just wanted to kind of look at that. It's interesting how he uses these vocabulary words. Well, signal and noise, everything being a frequency. So right there, I feel like he's advertising that, yes, he is using many, many people to create a certain signal, create a certain frequency, and that's something they're going to feed off of. And then the cross-linking, yeah, I mean, it says it all, guys.
And let me give you another parallel before we go on to the earth changes, of which there's a lot going on. Think back to at times of war. There were people that were entrenched, and even now you'll have police going undercover, so to speak. Police go undercover to break a ring or whatever it is, and they'll be gone for a long time undercover. And we've shared that there's people that are under PCC control, and put that up to a mirror, that have been placed here 20, 30 years ago, and literally have had kids in the U.S. And maybe their kids have had kids. And maybe they don't even realize that they are really not from here, and that their ultimate purpose is at some point to be turned on to become part of the new control grid to cause disruptions, etc., etc. It's the same thing when you realize there are souls incarnating that might look absolutely human, but they're not. They're not really one of the majority of the beings that are on the planet, as far as their purpose of their incarnation is not to experience as it is for the typical human life as a human. Their purpose is all about coming in and subverting and controlling and bringing into this collective hive mind, this AI control grid. And so this is one of them. Yeah, so in one way you could say, yeah, absolutely, Elon Elon is not really human when you get down to it, but then neither are the politicians. And then many of these dark beings are just that. This is actually Samaru. This is not Hawaii, but we're going to take a look at Hawaii as you look at pyroclastic flow footage from Samaru in East Java, Indonesia. Can you imagine that coming towards you? Now, that's at 5 times speed, but even at 5 times speed, that was, pretty explosive. And here we see a massive eruption at Samaru, ash up to 50,000 feet. So, your question is too, what's gonna be the overall tendency on this planet as far as temperatures and water? Because again, that's going to impact where's going to be a good place to be, and recognize we cannot count on the grid. They're going to use the grid against us. This is all part of what's going on. There's many places, especially in Europe right now, that are being highlighted, and the US too, and others, as places where you're going to have to get through this long, cold, dark winter, right, without being able to rely on any power structure that we usually rely on. And then we also see that they're doing things like they got laws in places where you basically have to put a catalytic converter on your wood-burning stove. This is the type of thing, and even cutting out sources. I mean, we see in some places, they won't allow you to collect rainwater. Why? It's all about control. Because the reality is, Mother Nature will provide for us, and in abundance. And if they weren't here, if this control grid wasn't here, man, life would be easy. Mm-hmm. It really would be. They're the problem. They are the problem, and they cause more problems. When humanity recognizes that the only thing wrong with this planet is the controllers, then we'll get some change. But yes, it feels, and it definitely seems, and there's a lot of technology going on, as well as a lot of natural reactions to the technology, that we should be prepared for long, cold, hard winters for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm. And what else I was thinking about in there, since they're controlling all resources, let's not forget the wells that they're going to put meters on.
Yeah, of course they have their smart meters on our houses, which put off signals as well. Everything. This is, some people have the right idea, and they've done things in local areas in order to push back and try to reclaim just what's natural and what's given to us abundantly. We could have abundance. The only problem with this world is the actual control systems in place. and the political structure itself. So you're not going to reform this structure. The structure has to dissolve and be something of the past, and we have to come up with new alternatives. As we see deformation going on, we see lava flow. There's a lot of activity at Mauna Loa, and it is not slowing down. As you can see here, absolutely unbelievable, unreal. And, nature is beautiful, and she can be terrifying, but if we're in harmony, we'll know when things are coming, and we'll be able to get out of the way and let her do her thing, because she's going to cleanse herself. And the cleansing that's coming to the planet, their actions are making it become more and more intense, and they understand this. They understand that by poisoning the planet, by toxifying it, it's going to make it so the planet's going to have to kind of have a raging fever instead of a mild fever, so to speak, to get rid of the toxicity. They've done this before. They've done this before many, many, many times. That's the bottom line. Many times. Not once, not twice, many, many, many times. None of this is new. And as Cindy was getting from the guides, don't think that we're the first ones that have an internet. Don't think that we're the first ones that have TVs and smartphones. No, how did they know how to do things so well and what we're gonna do? Because for one, they could game plan this. They do have that AI that you're not going to be able to outthink with our own version of AI. No, we have to think in an organic manner, in a heartfelt, heart-centered manner. And here you see the FAA's warning to pilots, don't fly your aircraft near Mauna Loa when it's erupting. That's really a good idea. I think that's good. Molten lava on Hawaii's Big Island could block the main highway. And so nobody was really talking about all this, as we see the lava is just 2.5 miles from the Daniel K. Inouye Highway. Nobody was talking about this originally when you look to the experts. But then again, they don't know exactly what they're going to get when certain technologies are turned on. Again, Mother Earth is truly a magnificent, powerful being, as is every planet and every star out there. These are intelligences. And we have 45 quakes on the island right now. When Kilauea was going, sometimes we'd see hundreds upon hundreds of quakes. Even up to 1,000, if I'm remembering correctly, just on the island itself. So not as much, although you can see there's right centered on the peak there, and then Kilauea is over in this area, and the island's going to keep building out this way. But hey, maybe it's going to build in a lot of new directions. Maybe it'll be a continent at some point in time.
Indeed.
Yellowstone's underground lava river threatens natural disaster. These discoveries can help researchers pinpoint just how deep under the surface an eruption at Yellowstone would be. This new information and new study basically comes to the conclusion that an eruption at Yellowstone may be more likely than they thought, but not necessarily of that catastrophic range like we've seen in the past. And what we've gotten from the guides is exactly that. It could go to a degree, but don't expect it to be one of those historic ones. Of course, again, there's technologies in play that can literally move moons. So we wouldn't underestimate that. And again, it's not technologies that are held by the Democratic or Republican Party. No, Cindy's starting to giggle there. I could see it. No, and it's not technologies that are held secret from Russia by the U.S. No. These are technologies that are of a much higher degree. And you get a little bit of an idea when you look at that Dyson sphere on the Vatican lawn.
Yeah, that's my favorite reference. Just look at that.
Yeah, that gives you an idea. Harnessing the energy of a sun and utilizing it. Yes, ships bigger than planets. Yeah, that's really what we're talking about. Drone footage shows deadly flooding in parts of Brazil. And this has also obviously displaced thousands of people. And by the way, again, Mauna Loa, we'll keep an eye on that, because what we're getting is that's kind of a wild card thing, and Mother Earth doesn't want to let go, but she's kind of being forced to.
Yeah, that's a really difficult one. The first thing that I got was this is something that she is doing, but then I'm hearing from people who are actually local there that she has been bound and she doesn't want to let off any more energy than she has to. She's trying to protect her children. There's a problem there.
Absolutely. And, the key is being in harmony with the planet, being in harmony with nature, and viewing it in a loving way and not an abusive way. And, again, the conditioning is there to think that so this is that left-right dichotomy going on because, we need to conserve the planet, but they all of a sudden decide to, now all of a sudden we have to worry about carbon-based emissions. And as we're going to see, again, all the science that they give us, it's just, science is sales. It's what it is. It's sales slogans. This is all they give us is a new form of sales. Yet, there's things we should have been doing the whole time. And there are technologies that are available in golden and silver ages where none of this is needed. And we're just more than just fine. We live much longer, healthier lives. So you have landslides hitting down there. You have farming areas hitting down there. Brazil is the largest country in South America, one of the biggest in the world. In fact, solar output stepped down in November. And again, everything as we see, it's delaying the planting in some areas. And with that Tonga blast, which again, what we get was absolutely not natural. And definitely now it seems to be that there's more volcanic activity ongoing. And when you look at this article from Zero Hedge, you would think that you picked up Electroverse or the Watchers or Strange Sounds, because global warming, northern hemisphere snow cover at 56-year high. People are catching on to the sales. We're catching on. Again, fool me once, that whole thing, fool me twice. As we can see, it's not what they're saying, but it's never been really about what they're saying. And then they ignore us anyway. Anybody that has a logical conversation with one of their, salespeople, so to speak, you just get ignored. So again, we can't in all honesty think that we're going to ever convince them, the power structure, to change their ways. There just simply has to be the elimination of the power structure altogether. And this is every single major political structure on the planet needs to be replaced, because we won't get any real change until that whole power structure is gone.
Mm-hmm. And what I see is this isn't even necessarily a 3D situation. We're going to have to go above and beyond that construct that they have created for us, that matrix, and move and shift things energetically.
Yeah, and we have 3 feet of snow in some areas in California. In December, things are really kicking off. We have a massive dust storm blowing through northwest Kansas. Actually, when you look at the drought situation, I could bring up the drought monitor real quick. If it's gonna come up, yeah, it's really more towards that Kansas area that looks about the worst, as we see right here. You can see the darkest black right now is in Kansas, dripping down, and I'm calling it black, but it's really a shade of red. And also Oklahoma, and going on up into Nebraska. This is some of the worst. Of course, there's areas in California. Of course, it's also the food producing areas that are in the worst shape. As we see, it actually seems to have improved in Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. It actually seems like it's improving a little bit in Texas now as well. But long term, again, we have to prepare always for the worst and keep putting out the positive intentions for the best. And there we go. In Arizona, you have home builders fighting to show that there's enough water for new residents. Again, Phoenix is like the 5th largest city in the country. And if it wasn't for modern technology, there's no way Phoenix could exist. I mean, Phoenix is like an oven. and and even when we were living up towards Death Valley there, it certainly felt like when we go through Phoenix, to me, it always felt hotter than it did. But that's probably because there's so many people, so much concrete, so much metal and everything.
Yeah, that concrete definitely creates a hotter environment.
Absolutely. And still you have people that are flocking, to these areas that, there really wouldn't be life without the modern technology. And the reality is the modern technology will not be there at some point in the future. Well, it will be as long as you go along with everything that they want you to go along with. This is, again, the desert like this is not an easy place to live totally off-grid, to live totally away from society without depending on anything that society has to offer. Much easier to do it in a place that's green, lush, and a little bit more temperate.
Right. For people who went over there to settle, that's one thing. They were very, very thick-skinned, very, very strong. But people nowadays, no, it's not going to be easy at all.
No, humanity's gotten softer in many ways. We have some sort of fireball, we could say, seen over numerous northeast states on December 2nd. 847 reports: Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Maryland, Michigan, North Carolina, New York, Ohio, Ontario up in Canada, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia. This was big. This was, that's a lot of people to see this fireball of whatever it really is.
Indeed.
It's been a lot of those. You ever think about where our food really comes from and the historical origins of our food? And this shows you traditionally what was grown where. Now, because of the technology that we have, we can, grow different things in different areas. And it might not take much. Honestly, my neighbor, I was over to help him the other day and just noticed all he did was he had plastic up against the house, just kind of taped there, and a whole bunch of plants that are thriving on the southern exposure. They're doing just fine. Now, we moved a lot of stuff in, but now we're going to have temperatures that aren't going to go below 50 overnight, so we'll move a lot of stuff back out, and, as far as like our citrus and things. But when you look at this traditionally, this gives you an idea. You see North America, cranberries, and we see Brazil is now the largest soybean producer in the world, though the crop is originally from East Asia. Things are always changing. I love nutmeg. I love using nutmeg in baking stuff. Southeast Asia, as we can see these different crops, but the world is different now. But again, this could again revert back at any point in time. Because again, if we're going to want to stay truly organic, we're going to have to be getting outside of the system. Because, you already know what's planned. Nobody may buy or sell unless something is done, right? They've told us this in all their scriptures.
And they will keep telling us in all those scriptures too, because every time they mention it or every time someone reads it, well, the chances of that manifesting go up, up, and up.
Yeah, so this is interesting just to see, and we associate corn with our heartland, and I've seen corn all over the U.S. growing at different points in time, and wheat and soybeans, rice. This gives you an idea. But again, our whole reality may be changing soon as we see millions of Brits may unplug from the power grid amid soaring prices because they won't be able to pay their bills. Just that simple. Just that simple. And yet we have people that were living in this area that never had a grid, and that was just, perhaps several hundred years ago, or was there a grid? That's another story too, because again, this loop, I think, gets redone many more times than we realize. Many, many more times than we realize. And this is what we've gotten from the guides. Here we think that, this is something that is totally unprecedented, and, I can't believe what we're going through here, and you think about the technology we have here. But it has happened so many times before, many, many more times. And Cindy and I, we don't really have a definitive number on it. All the guides will just say is, yeah, this has happened a lot, often. This is just a continual cycle in the Dark Ages. And I've shared with you, and maybe we should do another deep dive into the numbers and calculating the numbers out, because it's never made any sense. And when you think about the population and population growth that we've had just in the last 100 years, and you extrapolate it out backwards, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Intentional vandalism leaves 40,000 without power in North Carolina. Intentional. Yeah, they literally, it was shooting that caused this at numerous substations. Now, this is something else. This is what we're talking about there. Now, this could just be done by anybody that's mad at anything, and we'll touch on topics that people are angry about, with a certain process that's being exposed for what it is on the next video on Evolutionary. But there's also a massive army, a massive military force that's already in place in the U.S. and in the other European NATO countries. That's just, they're going to unleash it at some point in time. And what that's going to look like, I think will blow the minds of most people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, this feels so frighteningly deliberate, because to have this information on the inside, you need to have information coming from the outside. So it doesn't look good at all.
Yeah, I'll have the links for you guys to read, so you could make your own judgment calls. There's certain topics that we don't want to broach, just because they're purposefully divisive. When we need to unify, we need to be pulling each other up. And there's so much, and I'll see people trying to tempt us. Well, why don't you talk about this? Why don't you talk about that? And we could just kind of view the energy behind that, and we know it's an energy that just wants to cause problems. It wants to cause us to get people mad at us because they don't like what we're saying. And again, we could just read the energy behind it, and that's what everybody needs to be doing. We need to not leave anybody that wants to come to an alternative, that doesn't want to be part of this Borg hybrid of hive mind, for to use Elon'S term. If you want to stay individual, then we're going to need some help. If you want to stay organic, and again, we're always detoxing inorganic materials from our bodies constantly, because the inorganic is all around us. Look to nature and get out in nature. And here, let's just take a quick listen. Such nice accompaniment, and I do enjoy jazz.
It reminds me of when we had a what was that thing we would play, and Zeke would sing and sing. Yes, the harmonica reminds me of that.
Yeah, Zeke would always howl along whenever I'd play the harmonica. And so, yeah, as always, guys, we appreciate your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. We couldn't do it without you guys. If you do need to reach us, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. Again, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. I'll update some things on the preloads that go up on every video as far as contacts. There's always links to everything, and every single video has links to our website, has links to Bitchute, to Brighteon, to Rumble. Our email's in there. Everything is in there. So, any questions, just look in the video itself, and then you'll get the guidance. And, if you do need to reach us, again, evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com. And we appreciate, your support, of course, and also your patience, as, we don't always get to read every single comment, but we do probably read most of them. Definitely most. And so, we also, besides making these videos, we're helping dozens of people every week with energy work, with Vedic astrology charts, with spiritual coaching guidance, and things of that sort. So that does occupy a huge portion of our time. And we love doing it. We just love helping others. May you be blessed by the creator of this beautiful universe. Namaste.
Namaste.